Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Hamburg Mobile Summit Live. My name is Elena, and I'm happy to be your host for the second half of the day. I know for sure that this morning had some really great lectures here in the studio, and we're ready to continue with 3 great panel discussions this afternoon. Ready? Me too. Let's start. So the next panel will cover the C-level games industry outlook, and we are ready to welcome our speakers with the moderator of the session, Eric Pantiskowski, the CEO of Dodreams. Hello, guys.
Hello, Elena.
Hello,
How are
hello.
you?
How are you today?
Wonderful, thank you.
Oh,
Everybody's
fantastic.
so excited to chat.
Uh,
We have tons of topics to cover, so we can't wait to get started.
oh, that's fantastic. Well, let's keep the wait then. All yours. Good luck, guys.
Thank you, Elena. So, hi, Elena. Hello, Anton. Good to see you again, Akin. Are you guys ready?
Yep, let's do it.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to do a bit of a monologue here first to set the scene, and then we'll introduce. You'll have a chance to introduce yourself. But as Elena kindly said, now the Hamburg Mobile Summit has brought together this wonderful panel of C-level officers. We're going to discuss the future of the mobile games industry. So during the next half hour, we will debate how the ecosystem will evolve in the next few years. And as game executives, we all have the task to maximize shareholder value. Peter Drucker, who's considered the father of management theory, said that it is achieved by creating and maintaining customer relationships. So if you want to achieve lasting growth, it's not enough to get someone to download your game. It's not even enough to get them to pay once. The goal is to have them play and spend in your game for years. As we know, at best games can be hobbies that people have for years, and they remember them for a lifetime. And if you want to form these lasting customer relationships, you need to think not only about short-term profit. Your business model has to be about helping your customers fulfill their dreams. You can deliver that value to your fans only if you ensure the well-being, productivity, and creativity of your team. And you need to do right by the planet and humankind as well. This is known as the triple bottom line. So our panel today, we have 3 very different game executives, and each one of them has positioned their studio in a very unique way. And they have really interesting strategies to win in this highly competitive market. So I'll now present each one to you briefly, and after that, ask them to tell you more about their special twist to reaching that lasting, profitable growth. So we will discuss today on this panel topics related to how you grow and monetize your games, and how you fund and operate the studio to make the games, and of course how you actually deliver them to the fans. So our first panelist that I'd like to present to you is Elina Arponen, and I'm happy to say that Elina was one of the first friends I made when getting into the game scene. Here in Finland, she's CEO and founder of Quicksave Studio, and recently raised $1.3 million for developing HTML5 social games. So Quicksave has a little bit of a different approach to distribution than maybe most of the mobile game studios out there. And second in our panel is Akin Babayigit, who is co-founder and COO of Tripledot. This spring, they announced a huge $78 million investment to create what they call the Apollo program of mobile gaming. Wow. It looks like they're on the right trajectory. Their portfolio of titles such as Solitaire have really long lifespans among casual gamers, and the company has already announced reaching a $100 million run rate. And lastly, here on the panel, we have Anton Reinhold, who is Chief Business Development Officer at Nexters. And they generated 318 million in net bookings with mid-core and casual titles such as Hero Wars in 2020. This makes Nexters a top 5 independent game developer in Europe. So this is among the studios out there that have not already been acquired by someone else. And believe me, there are still very many studios out there that haven't been acquired. So it's a tough crowd to compete in. And I'm your moderator today. My name is Erik Pöntiskoski. I'm the CEO of Dodreams. So yeah, we do more than games, we do dreams. And we're the maker of Drive Ahead, a head-to-head battler with 150 million organic downloads. And during the last year, we've transformed this 5-year-old offline game to a live game as a service. Our results are promising. We went from 90% ad revenue to 50-50 with IAPs this spring. Wow, what a monologue. Now, I'll promise the rest of the panel, it's all about the panelists here. So let's talk a little bit with Elina. Before Quicksave, you founded Tribe Studios to make chat games, and that was acquired by Pal Ringo. So this is not actually your first time to be an entrepreneur. What makes you excited about these HTML5 games and instant games and chat games as a platform?
Yeah, sure. First, thanks for having me. It's great to be in this panel today. This market in the HTML5 social space, it's new. It's been growing and kind of maturing now for a few years. We kind of started to look into this already with the previous company and with the Pal Ringo acquisition, Pal Ringo being a messaging app themselves. And so we kind of had a history with the platform when it started to happen with Facebook first bringing out the instant games, and then like every 6 months at least, like there's been new platform joining and offering these integrated games. So I think there's 3 main reasons why we love this space. One is this growth, that it keeps growing with new platforms and new opportunities. We're definitely thinking it as a multi-platform approach. The second part is obviously the social and viral nature. We are able to do game design that is not supported by other platforms necessarily, so we can do different kind of multiplayer designs that are supported by the social features. Of course, it's good for the player, but it's also good for the acquisition of the users for the game. And then the third thing is really the quality of the games. I think that's the most kind of underrated or underestimated like a feature of the platform. A lot of people think that HTML5 has to be somehow not so quality experience. It has to be like a smaller experience. It doesn't have to be. It can be gameplay wise on par with the other kind of mobile distribution channels. It doesn't have to be like so much less content or like a poorer quality content, but we are looking for the quality gameplay.
Okay, so lots of innovation is going to happen in that field. Thank you, Elina. So let's move next to Akin. You were previously with King, and you're one of the people who started off the Facebook audience network. So you're no stranger to moonshots. I'm really curious, what does this Apollo program of gaming mean in practice?
Sure. So thanks. Very nice to meet everyone. And thanks for having us. So the Apollo program of mobile gaming actually symbolizes our belief that when we're starting a company from scratch, my co-founders Lior, Eyal, and myself, we really wanted to take a team first approach. And this is often said, but never really put in practice, in our opinion, in our observation. So both Lior, myself, and Eyal were experienced operators in the games industry. Lior was the founder of Product Madness. Eyal was one of the first people there. I was involved in Peak Games, Facebook, King, etc. So our belief is that if you put really talented people together, if you create a amazing team together, and if you give them the tools that they need to succeed, amazing things happen. So we don't have a product first strategy. We're not a gaming company that defines ourselves by we do XYZ type of games. We're actually in the data-driven entertainment business. So, games industry, in our observation, has sometimes a bad reputation saying, oh, it's a hit-driven business, etc. Less so now, but it used to be the case when we started the business. And we don't think it's a hit-driven business. We think it's a very data-driven business. So our basic approach, the reason we call it Apollo program is we want to build something very, very big. We want to build something, generational defining. So let's put together all the best people that we know, and let's just kind of have everything powered by data. Let's take a scientific approach to game making. Game making basically lives on a spectrum of creativity on one side and data and science analytics on the other side. So we're very kind of close to this data-driven analytical game making. And when we thought about kind of what's a good analogy to say that, and what's easy to remember way to say that, we came up with the Apollo program. I know it's a bit cheesy, but it's actually we live it every day. So that's the kind of genesis of that.
Well, thank you, Akin. It's a great story, and more power to you with that hard work.
Thank you.
And then finally, or lastly, we have Anton here on the panel. So Anton, I'm so pleased to see a fellow academic working here in gaming. You know, I'm a former marketing PhD researcher and lecturer, and I see that you hold a Doctor of Philosophy degree in literature from the Russian University of Humanities. So tell me, how has this helped you in this career in gaming and marketing?
Thank you for having me here, and I'm very pleased to meet you all. And thank you very much, Eric, for mentioning this degree. I have forgotten about it since I've graduated and have received it, and that was 10 years ago, I believe, in 2011. I wouldn't say that it has helped me very much. So I don't have this trajectory when I know that I have this PhD and this is how it helped me, but I believe it still gives some kind of helicopter view on things, and just this type of education helps you see things just a bit differently, and from a few perspectives. Probably that is it. But going back to the industry and to Nexters, I would say that having this thought about different views, I would like you all just to have a brief dive into what industry and how the industry looks now, and it is super big and it is growing. So last year, the industry, the mobile industry was over $86 billion, and Newzoo expects it to grow over 90 billion this year, mobile only again, and the gaming audience to grow up to 3 billion people by the end of 2021, and that's a huge number actually. And thinking about these things, our vision and long-term strategy, the long-term strategy of Nexters lies. We believe that there is more and more people playing games, and for some of those people, the first game they play is a mobile game. And we define those people, and they define themselves not as gamers, but as players. And so basically, we see our approach is to bring the best gaming experience, which we understand as game designers, as people who played a lot of games since the end of '80s, some of us, to the broad audience of players. This is how we deal with it, and so far it has been looking good.
Okay, thanks, Anton. Yeah, I gotta say that I think this career in academia, it helps a lot with storytelling, and that's what leadership and marketing is, of course, about. And maybe also in making games, you have these archetype characters, and you think of the motivation of characters and maybe the players and stuff like that. So hey, glad to see this kind of diversity also in the gaming industry. But Anton, you very well brought up some industry trends, and there's been something going on that I'd like us to address next, and that is that the world didn't end last week, even though Apple started pushing iOS 14.6 to players as an automatic update. And there's this deprecation now of the identifier for advertisers. Akin, you are also an investor, so I asked you now to put on your investor spectacles. And how does it look like to you now? Like, has the dust settled enough for you to say that, what are the implications for this now? That what should all the game executives listening to this panel know about what's happening?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I mean, this is what everybody has been talking about in the games industry for a very long time. I think what we've observed is that the dust hasn't settled yet, but obviously in the last 2 weeks, Apple has, increased dramatically the adoption rate of iOS 14.6. And so, we now much better understand what kind of behaviors are going to be like across sort of UA and ad monetization and attribution. So to take a step back, this is something that affects everyone in the mobile games industry, and really it affects them across 3 different buckets. Bucket number 1 is obviously how do you do user acquisition in a post IDFA world, and what we've seen is that what we had anticipated was that once Apple kind of accelerates the adoption, once they press on this pedal, there'll be the step function change by gaming companies, by ad networks, by everyone, and then gradually people will start to adopt to the new norm. So, ad networks will try to come up with better auction models, better algorithms. Gaming companies will become increasingly smarter. The opt-in optimization is going to become, more and more, better across the industry. And we're seeing all of those things happening. But it is a tedious process. No one has a silver lining to, I think the biggest mistake I see in the industry is people are kind of looking for, silver lining to a very complicated problem, and it just doesn't exist. So in our experience, I mean, we've seen that it's an ongoing process, very closely collaborating with all our ad network partners, talking to folks in the industry. We're kind of getting better and better at kind of understanding the impact. The second bucket is attribution. And that's just, it's a tedious exercise, affects pretty much everyone in a similar way. There are different genres, have different kind of opt-in rates and things like that. But at the end of the day, this attribution question has to be addressed by everyone. The big thing for us, because we mainly, so far, our phase 1 of our journey in our company, we focused on ad-based monetization as a revenue model. So obviously there's an impact on ad-based monetization. But actually what we've kind of seen is, again, the same thing I discussed in the UA side. I think ad networks are getting much more intelligent about how to serve better ads in a post-IDFA world. We're getting smarter about how to maximize the opt-in ratios. There's been a lot of activity on Android. So, there's obviously, people are going to lose a little bit on the top line on iOS, but actually there's been a lot of increased competition. CPMs have gone up on the Android side. So I'd say we're feeling actually pretty optimistic that, at a high level, people thought, oh, this is doom and gloom, the industry is gone. And the other side was saying, oh, this is going to be like the GDPRification of mobile. And I think, we feel much more optimistic now that, we're kind of going through that tunnel of acceleration. So I'd say games are probably the one sector that is super adaptive to big changes like this. And, good gaming companies, good teams, good entrepreneurs are always going to find ways to adapt to the new norm. So that's kind of, what we see.
Thank you, Akin. And yeah, I could share for a little bit from Dodreams' perspective that we also saw eCPMs increasing on Android starting already April, and curiously also on iOS in May. And I think that's evidence of, first, the former being that people are shifting budgets to Android, and the second was that probably they wanted to spend as much as possible before this change took effect. But then I've heard similar stories from industry friends that some have seen this horrible 20 to 40% decrease in ad revenue. But yeah, we decided to protect ourselves by introducing a more IAP-driven revenue model. But that, of course, is very slow change. We were working on it before this even existed. But in hindsight, we can maybe say that we had good timing. So Anton, out of this panel, I think you have the most diverse portfolio of games. You have mid-core and casual. How do you ensure that Nexters can still acquire valuable users in this new market condition?
It's actually this. So we see it the same way Akin sees. So actually, nothing. Globally, nothing has changed in terms of so player and game wise. So players are there, and the games are also there in the store. So we need to adopt, and we need to learn. We need to learn how to deal with this and do our daily routine. From starting with those new rules, and we do understand that Google will follow as well with the same, and they have also confirmed that with the same program in the future, in the closest future. So basically, we need to do so to start living like in a new world, and learn to do that. All together with the ad networks, with all the platforms, all the auctions. So it's everybody's job. And so if we talk about Nexter's business in terms of 14 so iOS 14.5, we do the same as everybody does. So basically, we try to do UA on the and look on the country level. This is a common thing to do. We do try to find the best opt-in scenarios in our games, and it works, of course. So the results are not that amazing as we would like them to be, but still we see the increasing. So with the increasing numbers, we see that. We expect only the best from of the future. So thing is, we are investing a lot into marketing, and we have budgets to do some testing and to see some big data picture, and it doesn't seem that awful. Basically, what we think that maybe iOS 14.5 could be a setback for smaller companies in terms of doing user acquisition for some time, and before the auctions adopt and train the algorithms to do a better job acquiring users in this new ecosystem.
Okay. Thanks, Anton. So, Akin, you have a casual audience. How do you protect yourself from risk in ad revenue at Tripledot? How do you plan to ensure future growth?
I mean, we've been working on this for the last year or so, right? So we've done a lot of different tests, and I think we're one of the first companies to have bespoke waterfalls, and in terms of ad monetization, I'd say we are pretty sophisticated. So we've kind of done various things in our waterfalls, dynamic waterfalls, etc., to address it. I think one of the things that we've done is also, like you said, we've tried to become much more selective about going after certain Android markets. So we've kind of beefed up our Android presence. We made sure that the Android waterfalls are as efficient, high fill rates, etc., as we can. In terms of iOS, I mean, there is no way that post IDFA, like you will see some decline, right? There's no going around that. It's just, how do you manage that decline in the greater context of your business? And our revenue kept growing throughout these changes. We've been able to grow our iOS revenue as well. So, did we see some kind of decline in CPMs? It's inevitable, right? And yes, on iOS. But we've seen, actually, the surprising thing to us was that we've seen an increase in Android, which was great, which was very welcome. Not just Android volume, etc., and Android CPMs. And we've gotten much more efficient in managing our what we call LAT waterfalls and things like that. So we're a data-driven company, so we just we try to look at the data every day. This good results that I'm describing, there's no silver bullet, right? It's like it's a combination of doing 1,000 things 1% better day over day. That kind of in aggregate gives you that kind of good results. So I would say we're pretty positive about the result overall. Actually, in long term, because our audience is casual audience, and because our kind of, to use industry lingo, inventory is high quality, because our long-term retention is everything for us. Our games are amazingly well retaining in the long term. Actually, we in the long term, in steady state, we actually think that that will mean something to advertisers as well, because advertisers will see that we have games that have longevity built into them. So we've kind of managed to navigate it so far. I don't want to kind of jinx anything, because we're not out of the tunnel yet, right? So but so far so good for us.
Yeah. Hey, Akin, thanks for bringing up this viewpoint, because as game developers, everybody loves to make the game, and often the attention is in like what kind of feature we're developing. But creativity and innovation takes place also in these business processes. So you have to have equal passion to have the best waterfall for ad monetization as to develop the game.
You don't have to have that passion if it's okay. I mean, there's a lot of companies that just focus on, making that game, right? And I have a lot of friends, a lot of people, a lot of companies that I've supported in one way or another. They're really like passionate about making the best whatever sports game or racing game or whatever it is. But I think the real way to, we have our first game was a solitaire app, right? And when we started telling people we're going to market with a solitaire app, people thought we were crazy, because it is such a red ocean market, etc., right? And they're like, how are you going to differentiate? And the differentiation is entirely behind the scenes. And right now we have one of the largest solitaire apps in the world. And it's all by doing this kind of unsexy things behind the scenes, under the hood, if you will. 1,000 things, 1% better, just in aggregate, it makes a huge difference.
Very good. So, Elina, how happy are you that you're not doing mobile games, that you're doing these HTML5 and social games?
Yeah, well, with the IDFA, it does have less effect on our field. For the UA, for example, like if we do marketing inside the same channel where the game is, basically we sit in that social graph, like with Facebook, for example. We can do the kind of the on the UA side and on like acquiring users also. It doesn't have such a big effect on us really, and of course the social viral component is there as well, very strongly supporting the UA. So yeah, I'm happy to be on this area.
So there's been a lot of hype and hope previous years on these different instant and chat and whatnot genres. Where's the actual business going to be happening in the future?
Yeah, so as I did mention at the beginning, like we do think this as a kind of a multi-platform space, or like all the social apps are kind of like a one platform for us, but definitely there are like different sizes of the applications. Facebook definitely started first, and they've been doing very good job updating and working with the platform to kind of get to a place where it's very good place to be for the developers as well. And WeChat, obviously in China, has a huge audience, and Snapchat also has a good active audience, strong in the US as well. And then there's also like a strong kind of big regional players, Contact, Viber, Line. So I think the business is going to be in many of these spaces. Certainly, like the biggest ones do hold the biggest kind of audiences overall. But it depends also, like what audience are you looking for, and what is the kind of the key target market sector for your game. So yeah, I'd say it is in many of these apps.
Great. So Anton, is there money to be made outside of the App Store and the Google Play Store, in your opinion?
Of course, there is money to be made, We also do believe that the HTML5 games and web games overall, with free-to-play model, can be a big part of someone's business. Though it's hard to tell if all the genres do work in terms of web games, for example. And Elena probably knows more about the casual part. We do operate our games in web, and we have a pretty great audience, and we do have a game on Facebook, games, and there is audience for us there, and there is audience which plays, retains, and spends a lot of time and dollars playing our games, and so we do take it as part of our ongoing strategy to build something for web as well.
Okay, great. Hey, we have just a couple of minutes more, and I want us to address very quickly a really big topic, which is actually funding your company and funding the studio, how you actually make the game. So you all three of you had something happening recently or ongoing. So Elina, first, like just very briefly, you recently raised 1.3 million for the early stage of a studio. What convinced your investors to give you that funding now during COVID? Were you, for example, able to even meet them face to face?
No, we haven't met face to face, and I think that has changed in the recent year. That actually makes I'd say the process more robust, in the sense that people are looking more for referrals, more for data. More, there's ways to kind of check on your background, or like who in the industry, and it's kind of like if you would be hiring a person, I suppose, on like checking that if everything is matching. Overall, like this space where we are is definitely has been gaining momentum, and now is a very good time to kind of get on board. And from our side, we are not kind of just a studio, in the sense that we have also developed some of our own technology, and like the game dev tools that we have that help us create the games faster and better quality in bigger games. That's kind of part of the recipe that we have.
Good. Sorry, let's make sure everybody has a chance to quickly comment. Anton, Series A, Akin, Series A was a big round, and you're talking to institutional investors. How's that different to what Elina went through?
I mean, the reason we did the fundraising, I would say, is actually twofold. One, we didn't need to do fundraising, I think, but we were profitable, very fast growing. Now almost 150 million revenue run rate. Like it's we're growing really fast, but we're still a very young company. We've only been operating around 3 years. So we wanted to, and our goal is to build something, as I said, like very, very big. And in order to do that, we felt the need to actually augment our growth by doing M&A. Now, everybody in gaming is trying to do M&A, right? So it's a very crowded field, etc. We felt that we would have actually unique partnership opportunities with studios that we know, leveraging our network. We feel that we are value-added buyers, from our as I mentioned, like we really excel in doing the unsexy stuff in gaming. So we felt that would be an interesting opportunity for people that are looking for M&A opportunities or for publishing, etc. And really, we wanted to basically partner up with strategic financial partners. So our funding round was led by Access and Eldridge, who are both amazing guys with very healthy balance sheets, and also Lightspeed. So those are the type of partners that we were looking for, someone that can support us for the long term. We didn't raise that amount to do M&A, because with that amount you can only do so much. But the idea was to, excuse my French, to get into bed with those guys and then just kind of partner with the long term.
Great. So Anton, I'm sorry we don't have much time, but you can quickly comment, because you really have your finger on the pulse of raising money. So instead of a traditional IPO, you're doing this special purpose acquisition company thing, or a SPAC. So could you explain to us, when does it make sense for a studio to consider this as an option?
Of course. So basically, for us, doing a SPAC was kind of, we were thinking about an IPO as a thing that will come in a few years, and we need to get ready. And we got this opportunity with Kismet Acquisition One. That's a Russian founders company. With great experience in doing a lot of deals and making great media businesses in Russia and outside of Russia, and basically that for us that was a new turn in our strategy. We decided that we need to accelerate our growth and not only go with the organic growth that's doing our Hero Wars game or new games, but we want to do M&A, as just Akin said. But we think that currency is not, dollars is not enough. We need a liquid currency. So that's why we are going to NASDAQ, so that we can actually add something to cash. And we are adding not only like cash, liquid currency, but we also are looking for investing our experience, expertise, and helping helping some businesses to grow if they want to accept our help. And we of course want to exchange knowledge, because we think that as the industry is growing so rapidly, we would like to skyrocket with great studios as ourselves together.
Great. Wow, what a ride. I can't believe we covered all these topics in 35 minutes. So we went from growing and monetizing your games to funding and actually getting the resources to make the games, and also how to deliver them to all our fans. Elena, I wonder, are we out of time, or do we have an opportunity to take any questions from the audience?
Thank you very much, guys. Thank you for a great panel. And yeah, indeed, you've covered so many topics. Wow, well done. And yeah, thank you very much for sharing your insights and experience. That was really interesting. In terms of time, we have 2 minutes left. And I have one question from the audience for you guys, if you don't mind. So it's from Andrew. He was wondering if you could give your opinion on subscription monetization model specifically. Could you please share with us your top 3 life hacks on how onboarding shop page for an effective app should look like?
Okay, so I believe there were 2 different questions. One is about subscription as monetization, and the other one maybe a little bit more like ASO. So who would like to take one or both of them?
I could say a few words about subscription, probably.
Go ahead.
If we take mid-core and casual, or somewhere between mid-core and casual, I wouldn't say that now it looks like subscription model would become 100% of your monetization model, but still doing some testing around it could be a great help, and it could get, I think, like my hinge is 20% of revenue to subscription. What are the positive side of subscription? Of course, that you are getting long-term customers who will stay with you and will retain, and those are paying customers, and that's a great thing to do. But on the other side is giving value for the money, and providing consistent value could be tough. So I would suggest looking at some games in top grossing. Some of them do adopt subscription model. I don't believe it's anywhere around 20% of revenues, but still there are some good examples of how that could be done.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much, Andrew. If that covers up your question, or if it doesn't, please feel free to make it more specific in the chat. And guys, if you have hopefully time after the panel, please join in the chat by the stream window, and answer the questions coming up. Thank you very much for joining us. It was fantastic to have you in this beautiful studio. Hopefully very soon see you guys offline somewhere in the world. And have a wonderful day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
You too.
Bye.